What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. It's another day for another recording, eh? Karibuni sana. You're of course hanging out with
BW Giving
and myself, VW Haron Mumuli. Naona umekaa huku sana.
baby.
Mambo lakini how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, labda.
It's been this time it's also been a minute.
Yeah,
eh?
it's been a minute, baby. Yeah.
Good to have you, eh?
Thank you, Bana. Good to have you as well. How have you been?
Sana. I've been okay. It's been hectic. Eh?
The week, eh?
Life moves fast, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine we're in November?
Yeah, baby. November. Juzi tu ndo tulikuwa tunaingia hii mwaka walai. Juzi tu baby. Na utashtuka next November tu tukiongelea vile tunasema hapa sasa.
I hope not. But yeah, it's been really crazy for me. But I'm thankful. The craziness is what makes life interesting. How about you?
I've also been good. By the highlights, let me just give you a highlight
of Jama. Okay. And then had to do
I don't want to say, I don't know whether to say my week or my, but nili join gym. Sasa hii nimeanza kupiga zoezi kiasi.
Niliona ukingangana kututesa huko haijui kitupea pressure. What the hell, man? But congratulations.
Kwa motivate bala pia alaboke but uko sawa. So me I feel as if I need to shed a bit of career and then to just turn any kiasi.
Congratulations. How is it?
It's I'm trying to be consistent by the. You see, this way we've been consistent with the podcast. The same. It's the same nini I'm trying to do with the gym.
So episode 30 hapo.
Episode 30
OG atakuwa
a different person by them. Mkicompare na episode 1, 2, 3 na episode 30. Hata atakuwa like, I will say this here.
Amen to that prayer.
Yeah.
We will be there to support you. Mimi nitakuwa hapo tu kwa comments. That's all I'll do. Kama ni kukujoin, that's where I draw the line.
I know. But uko sawa. We
all need muscles. We all need muscles.
Okay, maybe muscles, but other than that, you're all good.
Okay. Sawa. So, very good to hear.
Before we even get to today's topic, I have a question for you. Actually, two. But these all they're not very, tough questions. Okay. Just random questions.
Okay.
So the first one, if you were to have a superpower, which one would it be?
Superpower? Is there a follow-up to that question?
No.
Oh. If I had a superpower. I actually haven't put a lot of thought to that. Now, I've been seeing a lot of people doing a lot of things. A superpower. Hey!
Okay, so let me
quickest is Flash. Watch out, that's the one that's closest to me. Yeah. Super speed. Watch out, super speed.
Ndio ukitaka.
No, as in
kuna mkumechelewa job like 2 seconds itafika.
No, I could also rewind time. Okay, now that's theoretically as well. But if I'm thinking, your super speed is quite. It's a pretty good thing. Yeah.
For me, it would be teleportation, because and then teleportation in the sense that I'd like to, like, for example, we are here and then there's a new match going on like live right now.
Jipata study
kwa hapo tu
so unajipata uko study na mimi natoka kijiko tunapata.
But the good thing about teleportation and why I like it is because, for example, if I want to go to other planets, but I'm assuming that naweza complete these places. I'm able like to survive in those places as well. So if I want to go to Jupiter, Mars, all those places outside the the solar system, just see what is out there.
Ama unabeba hewa yako alafu unaenda unakaa 30 minutes unarudi
and then you're back.
Very interesting. Okay.
So the final question, by the way. The final one.
Okay.
Yes, imekuwa rahisi by the way. The final one.
By the way, I overthought it. That's why I was overthinking.
So the final one. So BC stands for before Christ. So what does AD stand for?
After death.
No. Stands for Anno Domini, which is Latin for in the year of our Lord.
Aye, uongo.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not after death?
No, it's not after death.
Aye.
That is what I think most people actually think.
What?
No, it's not after death.
Hey, my friend. Hey, okay, that's a nugget that's very interesting. But tell me, you also thought it was after death at some point, eh?
Okay, at some point, yes. Even growing up, BC, before Christ, after death. But then...
Mpaka I remember, I'm sure I remember my class 6 teacher, by the acha nisimtaje. But alikuwa ananiambia after death.
Yeah, no, it's not after death.
Okay,
so it's Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. So it's the year after Christ was born. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Sasa.
Okay. Hey, to nuggets, eh? Acha pia mimi nitabeba tu wangu next episode.
But zikuwe simple ka hizo.
Usiniangushie hapa vitu. No, unajua here's the thing. Here's the thing. What you do is unaniambianga letter hata iwe nini letter. Then I'm like, okay, this guy thinks.
Me staki. Nataka tu vitu simple ka hizo. I'm big gentle on you. So kindly reciprocate next time.
Okay.
So anyway, today episode 17.
Episode
17 bana.
Do you need to say thank you kwanza?
Hey, by the way. So by the way, thank you guys for being with us all through.
Being supportive for all that you're doing so far.
Yeah.
Let's just take a minute to appreciate the comments that have been coming in.
Yeah.
We really, we do not take you for granted.
For sure.
I think most of the channels I've been watching, usually when guys create content, they usually complain that, hey, we've seen a lot of our watchers are not subscribed. I usually go through the stats and I'm like, hey, that's a good number of watchers who are subscribed. So guys, keep it going. Let's keep on building our community. Asanteni sana. We will keep it going as long as you keep on supporting. So
yeah, for sure.
Not as long as actually. We'll keep it going.
We'll keep it going.
We'll keep it going.
Yeah.
But yes. Today's topic. Tuendelea ama...
Tuendelee kwa today's topic.
Okay, so what do we have today?
So today we are talking about humility
and or versus
pride.
Yes, very true.
Yeah. I think just simple definition, humility is just having a modest view of one's, importance. You can also just say it's modesty. And then and then pride. Pride is the one we're talking about is not you're proud of your work, that feeling of happiness maybe for an achievement that you have, but it's the pride of a feeling of excessive, you're feeling excessive, I don't want to call it importance, excessive regard of one's own importance. Let me just say that.
Excessive regard of one's own importance. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Can I say kujigamba pia?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Kujigamba. That is pride. In the context of the discussion we're having right now, that is the one that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
do you consider yourself a humble African?
Very interesting question. I do not, unfortunately.
Really?
Yes, I do not.
Wow.
Funny
thing, I consider you humble.
No,
honestly.
Let me.
Okay.
No, it's because for me to even say that I am humble, inamaanisha if someone was to measure me by the humble stick, as in if let's say just that if it was a test positive negative kama ile pregnancy lines mbili you messed up, I'm sure kuna some scenarios where I haven't been.
Really?
So I can't say yes because I wouldn't say I have been 100%. Unaelewa?
Okay.
Humble / modest /
Okay, me by the view that I have of you is that's how I'm acting. Very honestly, right now, like Nico surprised because me, that is how I know you. I know you as a very humble guy, As in, by the way, that is. So I'm surprised. I'm actually even interested to hear in what are these scenarios in which you consider yourself as
of pride or okay, currently in the context of this conversation, we are looking at them as opposites to each other, right? That humble is let's say humility, and modest is this side, then the other end is pride. You see, for me, okay, the way I assess myself is how have I led my life, right? That ever since I was born, build up the years 18, 19, 20 till this day, I would say I have continuously tried to be modest or humble, I would say. But I wouldn't say that I am always humble. You see, as in, because if you ask, are you a humble guy? If I say yes, it means that rewind time, angalia Aaron Mumuli, nikale kajama saying, this guy was I had a lot of pride, my friend. But back then, yes. Alafu, you see, for me to even get to the point that I am saying that these days I try to be humble, it's because I've had to do a lot of work, right?
Okay.
That I've had to do a lot of assessment, development. I don't want this conversation to sound like personal development.
No, it's fine. It's a safe space. You can just...
But yes, so again, go back to a lot of the episodes where we have said that some of these things, it's like they're muscles, that if you do not intentionally think about them, you might, by default, I'd like to think of myself as a kid. I was a very prideful kid, as in that boastful. Let's talk about all the traits that would be considered as traits of pride, right? But eventually, when I grew up, as in building up now again to the person I am now, it was clear that it is not that important to have as much pride as I had. So I would say pride tank, modest tank, this is all it has been doing. So nimekuwa nikingangana ku take away from the pride tank. So as in, I think that's the best way I can explain from my own perspective. Let me also hear
me
about.
And I know that when it comes to self-appraisal, sometimes we have we may be blind to some of maybe our negative traits. So we may, when you ask to appraise yourself, you're like, oh, baby, I'm the most humble guy ever. But personally, when it comes to humility, and maybe by the people who know me can just tell me, because maybe I may be blind to some of the things, but I think I am, I'd consider myself a humble guy, humble African. Honestly, humble.
That is bold.
And that's what I'm saying. There may be people maybe who know me, and maybe their opinion of me would be, no, you're not humble, and then they would tell me, there's this scenario, and then I'd be like, oh, yes, by the way, maybe I'm not as humble as I thought I was. So that's what I'm saying. I am just saying, I think of myself as a humble guy, but I invite,
You invite. Well, watch out one. I'm sharing these comments, by the way. We do not fact check these things. That's the issue. That's the issue we have. But now we need to start. But let me ask. Now let me just ask a brutal question. So if we are saying humble, you would confidently put your picture on the humble definition on Merriam-Webster's website in the event
if I had to choose, so it's either you put your picture, underneath the humble definition or the pride definition. I think I would go with the humble definition. I'm still being humble when I say that I may not be very sure of some of my I may be biased. I may be biased. So and that's what I'm saying. I think maybe other people, friends, people who've known me for quite some time, they may be able to maybe paint a clearer picture of who I am. So I actually pose the question to you. Do you think I'm humble? Ama, don't you think I'm humble? Because for you, you've said you wouldn't say you're humble, but me, from our experiences, our interactions, I actually think you're humble by the, and that's why I'm surprised when you say you're not.
Let me nichape assessment. By the way, I can also see you as quite a humble guy. Yes. No, as in genuinely speaking, I wouldn't say at your name say pride as in you wear pride on your sleeves or it's your coat. I would say you're humble. It's just that now when asked if I posed the query to myself again, whether I would put my picture on pride or humble or what's the name for humility?
Humility or pride.
Humility or pride.
Yeah.
I would put on none because I'm like, those are steep definitions to live by.
But if you had to put your picture under either one,
guy,
which one would it be?
Big a picture, I'm saying.
So it's pride. But funny thing, let me tell you. And you see, even like, because we used to work together. You see, and nataka kuchoma, but usually when you do this is actually something nice. But I can tell you for a fact, I have been in places where I've had people say that you're very humble. It's not just me saying. Most of our former colleagues, most of them actually think that of you, and that's why for me, I am really surprised when you think you're not. But I don't know. But if you ask, by the way, if some of those colleagues, I'm sure some of them watch our content, you can actually just maybe say down there in the comments, what do you think? Is he humble or prideful? Just tell us, because I think, and that's why I'm saying maybe in your self-assessment, maybe
I'm biased.
Yeah.
No, it's because I get what you're trying to say. But I look at that definition as very steep.
I know.
It's very steep. Naangalia lazima wewe niko mnaniambia niko. And okay, tuseme humble is the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
I am sure I'm somewhere.
But you're still climbing.
I'm still climbing. I'm sure I'm somewhere. Of course, I'm not at the bottom of the mountain where I would put pride at.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm saying that pride or humility, either of them is terrible. It's just that I am trying to see myself where I would put myself on that scale. I wouldn't say I'm that high because kuna watu unasikia uko nje and you're like, what? If it was me nisingefanya hivyo. Unaget? As in, when now you're doing assessments of the decisions you've made, all the things you have done, and with the knowledge of all the options you had, I'm sure unaangalia unasema, if I was really humble, I would have done. But the truth is, you didn't. I think that makes sense, right?
It makes sense. I actually have a question because I think sometimes when people talk of pride or even confidence, it's easy to just confuse the two. So you may be confident, someone who is confident. Last time I actually said in the episode, I don't know which one. I think we were talking about
callback. Please watch the episode.
Yeah, I'll just put a link here. And then I said that it was about mindfulness and self-awareness. And then I said that I think I'm confident. So someone might, when I say that, someone might think, "Aish, jamaa anajisikia sana skari hapa
jaza ndo anataka
So someone might confuse that for pride. But I think there is actually a difference. The nini might be quite the line as they separate might be quite fine, but I think there's a difference. As in, you may be confident, but you're not. You don't have a very high regard of your own importance. As in, you can be confident and
but you're
humble.
Also self-aware.
Yes. You can be confident and humble. Just you're still mindful of others, and you do not think that you're above like everyone else or whatever. So I don't know if makes sense, because I think people sometimes, when you say that you're confident, people might think wewe hiyo ni kiburi na kusumbua.
Oh yeah, hiyo ni pride. I agree with you. I see I see the deviation from, as in, if you look at the confidence and pride, there is a deviation. I do not even think that they come from the same source. As far as now, probably tuseme kama ingekuwa mtia definition ama ingekuwa rivea nini, I don't think that they come from the same source. I believe confidence is this is from now just the discussion we're having. Confidence is probably a trait that you might build or you have innately, that as a person, this is how you this is how I move, this is how I roll. That's confidence. But now pride is slightly different. I wouldn't put it in the same scale as confidence. I can be, as you've said, I can be confident but still not be not have pride. But let me ask this question to you: is pride a bad thing? Acha tuanzie hapo. Because tayari I know in the entire conversation it's like we're already running away from pride,
and that's why I think even as we were defining the pride and humility, we said it's not the pride where you're feeling happy about your own achievement. Like, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of what you've done. That is a sense of happiness towards someone's maybe achievement or success. But the one that we're talking about has a negative connotation to it, in the sense that it's, you're regarding yourself excessively more, like you feel as if your own self-importance is iko juu sana, like unajirigard juu than like wase wengine, like. So you see, like you said, kujigamba. I think that is the term that she used.
Kujigamba.
Kujigamba, like una feel.
Okay.
There's like if you take it like that, it has like a negative feel to it.
Oh, it has a negative feel, so it would be a bad thing, right?
Okay, I would say it's somewhat bad.
Because I also get the stream of definition that you're taking. I don't know if we can expand that spectrum and just say, okay, we're talking about pride. Let's look at zile scenarios zenye like I would come to you and say, hey Githinji, I've seen what you did, you must be very proud. Hey, that's an achievement. Take that as an example.
Yes, and that's you see that the one that you're saying is the one that, yes, I am happy about my own achievements. So I'm proud of my achievements. I'm proud of what I've done. So you see, that is a positive one. So for example, as a parent, you're proud of your
I'm proud of my kids.
Your kids. You're proud of your family. You're proud of your friends. So the other one is where it's not that feeling of happiness or joy, in as far as maybe
it's the excessive now that feeling of importance that you carry yourself as a higher being to every other person, every other individual. And that's a bad thing.
Okay, because my thinking is we are all we are all human beings, so
all on the same level.
Yeah, we are all on the same level. So I don't. And I'm sure, I'm sure. I'm sure we've also had this experience where when we meet someone who regards themselves excessively, ama their self-importance, they feel as if it's way above everyone else's. Then you're like, you don't consider that a nice thing.
Oh, yes. I agree.
So... Now, I don't know.
Now the next question now is just so have you okay, now feel free to answer it as you wish, but that being said, that in our assessment we're looking at pride as not something that is desirable, let's say, even if we're
more or less,
right? Yes. The spectrum of pride that we're looking at, wacha niseme hivyo, si ndio? That if you're holding yourself as a higher being, ama you're feeling that me manze kuna vitu sifai kufanya, that's the definition of pride that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself in scenarios where in retrospect you're looking at yourself and hapo manze nilikuwa na pride? Comments, guys.
Okay, as a humble African, you remember I said I think of myself as a humble guy. So as a humble guy, really struggling to find.
No,
and I'm not being proud by me, but because you're the one who said you think you're a proud guy.
No, I didn't say I think I'm a proud guy. I said I wouldn't call myself.
Okay, so do you have like?
Yes, I have a lot.
Just give me one. One that you may think of.
Let me also share some background. You see, I don't know if it's built in. You see, when you talk about philosophy, you look at what is innate in human beings and what is cultured or crafted as you're growing or as you're building the person that you're trying to be. I would say that as a kid, pride ilikuwa almost skyrocketing. Ilikuwa bei ya mafuta tumefika. As in, as a kid, I felt like, these things, kuna vitu huwezi niambia nifanye. Unaniambia, what do you mean? Who do you think you are? Do you know who I am?
Okay, tunakusawa basi.
As in...
okay, so that was when you were a kid. What about right now? Are there things like scenarios you may give us that you're like, by that time, I think I was...
you see...
it doesn't have to be now, maybe a few years back.
Even now is okay because... you see, for me, I wouldn't say that I would like to think of a humble guy as someone who just operates humbly, as in lives, breathes, as in speaks. Unaelewa? When I do an assessment of who I am, when I sit down and I'm like, okay, am I really humble? I wouldn't call myself humble if when it came to that point where I need to make a decision on how I will operate, I will first ask myself, do I need to do this or do I need to do that? Unaona, for me, the approach would be, because I'm a humble guy, this is not even a question. This is the flow, right? Ikifika that decision point, it's a junction where I have to say, is it this way or that way? Is it this way or that way? If I have to make that decision, then I wouldn't call myself humble. I would call myself as someone who's trying to be humble, because I have had to think about it.
But maybe you're being logical, as in you're trying to consider all the options. Call back by the to another emotion episode. Versus logic episode, yeah.
Which is a very interesting statement. Yeah. But I would like to think as that's why I can't put myself on that humble scale. Najua nikipimo hapo nitafail.
You're making me also nafanya nijipime tena mimi tena niji reassess tena cause nilikuwa nishajieka kwa hiyo nini. So I'm thinking, am I really the humble guy that I thought I was? But anyway.
Yes, as in, so for me, the best example I can give you now in response to your query, every time there's a decision that needs to be made that would have that probably would build towards the perception of you probably thinking I'm humble, it has been that I have had to make a decision that, hey, Haron, I need to make a decision here. First of all, for me to even lean towards humility or being humble, there are certain questions that will pull me away further and further from that pride decision that will now take me to the humble route. Let me say that I will say, okay, if automatically my thought process was pride, I'd be like, how would I want it if I was the one? Then okay, not so pride anymore. Then the other question, I'd be like, okay, am I really someone who would want to do this to? Okay, now I also need to think about what happens if, and eventually, as in, you see that if it's a hose, it's turned ever so slightly that you now find yourself in the let's call it that path or that route. I hope because you're getting what I'm trying to say. You're visualizing what I'm trying to say, but that's how I operate. And unfortunately or sadly, if I do not work consistently, as in just continuously, just try to better improve myself, just try to be better, do better, and all that. Again, tumeanza tena kusound kama personal development. Unfortunately, there are some decisions that will just go pride.
Okay.
And the pride that you're saying are terrible, right?
Okay.
That's me. Now let's hear you.
I am really trying to think. But I think, okay, I'm trying to think of a scenario where
I want to have your mind.
So, okay, so but I think we can circle back to it.
Okay,
let me
no
just
problem.
think.
As
we just go on, I'll probably just.
You'll be able to recollect. Okay,
Yes.
We'll circle back. Not a problem. So the next question I wanted to also just get out from you. We have, okay, so far we've talked a bit about pride and humility. It looks like humility is something everyone is aspiring to have.
I would think so.
What do you think our society today thinks of these two?
Again, I think. Let me just give an example of, for example. Let me just give an example. Something like leadership. Let's say even in a company or whatever. I think a humble leader is more desirable.
What organizations have you been working in? Where this is a beautiful life. Where? Okay.
Okay, I'd like to think so. Okay, again, still these are just my own.
Yeah, and they're very interesting. I'm very interested to.
I am also interested to hear what guys have to say, what you have to say. So it's just me speaking my mind, what I think. So I think a humble leader would be more desirable as opposed to a prideful leader, in the sense that I'm thinking a humble leader, and just hear me out, and then maybe you'll tell me whether I'm right or not. A humble leader. I want you to give me feedback on whatever I'm going to tell you, because I may be wrong or right. So I'd like to think that a humble leader would be like someone who sort of like if the team has done well, or if he has gotten praise from maybe above, he will be able to recognize that in his humility, that this is actually part of the team effort. Yes, maybe the CEO is giving me praise for this work that I've done.
That has been done by my team, or that.
But because the point of I am the contact person with the CEO in as far as my department is concerned, so that the CEO doesn't even know these guys. But so the CEO is just giving me the praise. Oh, your department is doing well. I'm really proud of, the work that you're doing. You're leading them well. I tend to think that a humble leader would sort of like say, or rather deflect that praise and just acknowledge the entire
Acknowledge
team.
the presence of.
Yes, and just acknowledge the presence of the team and say that, yes, this is, I received the praises, thank you. But the work that these guys are doing down here, if not for them, I wouldn't be getting any of this. So that is what I'm thinking of a humble leader. A prideful leader, on the other hand, and still, I may be wrong, but just hear me out. I think would same scenario would say, yes, like this is all me, like I have, like, as in, you're not even acknowledging.
Would be the one going to say,
yes,
hey, we've done, I have done
I
this.
have, yes. Baby, thank you for that point. The prideful leader would mostly be about I have done, I am the one, I am Nini. But the humble leader would be like, we as a team, we have managed to work together to get this result that everyone in the company is talking about. So that is an example that I would use in leadership to just show you how the humble leader may be, more desirable, to more people as opposed to the prideful leader. And I don't know what you think about that. I know.
I'm also interested, before I respond, okay, I promise I'll respond. I'm also interested to hear about your experience that even as we're talking about leaders, what has been your experience?
My experience, has been, I've experienced both.
Oh,
yes, I've experienced both. So there are, I'd say, let me just call them leaders that I've worked with who will always make sure that even if, and I think there's another episode, today we're doing so many callbacks, there's another episode we talked about this. So there are leaders that I have worked with that even if they're getting that praise, even if it's an email that, if the communication was just between that leader and the boss, that leader will forward that email to the rest of the team and say, by the way,
job well done.
Job well done.
This is
the big boss up there is very happy. I'm glad for the cooperation within the team. I have seen that, by the way, personally. I've seen that such kind of emails being sent, and it actually made me feel really good because you're like, okay, the work that we have been doing down here, there's actually some recognition that we are getting. But I've also seen, on the other hand, because yes, I've worked for quite,
a couple of organizations.
Yes, and quite a long time. I've also seen those. Quite a few years.
Age yourself much, okay?
So I've seen leaders that will do the complete opposite. They will just, even when people, praises are coming down, they will, intentionally make sure it just stays up there. Nothing trickles down to you guys.
And still demand.
And they are, they are the ones in the spotlight, like everyone is just praising them and whatnot. And I would say it wasn't, okay, sour. It's not as if they are obliged to do that. They're not required.
JD,
but
hakuna
mali nasema hivyo. Yes, hakuna. But I would say that the level of let me say camaraderie and just teamwork within this other team was, I felt that you guys felt, okay, we have someone that we can trust there. And we feel that they are really appreciative of what we are doing. So, yes, I have seen outside.
Nimepitia. Okay, now in response to your first query, I can see the both areas as you're putting in, but from my end now, also this is now just from what I have seen. Unfortunately, it's a slightly dark view of our society. From my end, I would say that the society has slightly awarded prideful, especially leaders, and increasingly I can see that pride is being promoted more than the humility in people. Okay, I have reasons. We can talk about the reasons. That said, in my example, similar to yours, I have now, unfortunately, I haven't been. Thank goodness, I haven't been under bosses or under management that has been prideful. Yenye as in mtu akikaa tu chini atasema tu, this is all me, my G. Because just as you've said, I have been called, and one or two. Okay, now these are my bosses. One or two people have come to me and they're like, by the way, remember how you put in this much time to just. It has really helped, and this is what is happening wherever. Fortunately, that has been my experience. I haven't ever been in a situation where you could clearly see that whoever you are working or operating under is someone of pride or someone who just doesn't consider your input as far as now the outputs are concerned. That being said, I know it's also not a requirement because, of course, when you're being recruited and you're being called in, it's of course management already knows you're doing something. Clearly, you're doing something.
That's why they hired.
Yeah, that's why they hired. So fanya ile kitu nafanya na wewe
mtangojea ati praises hapa.
Praises uliambiwa. So you see, actually, that specific comment there, that is why I am. That is one of the reasons I am saying that as a society we are slightly awarding pride than we are humility. Because if we were really intentional, now I'm looking at society as a whole, not just myself. If we're really intentional about now building that culture of humility, just building, as in tukue sote humble, my friend. Yenye tukipatana hapa Givinji unaniambia nakwambia manze si mimi ni unaelewa, as in hiyo yenye you're brushing off all hizo vitu zote, you're like manze wako wasa kwani ni smooth aje, hakuna kitu inamshika, zote tu wako za. If we were, then you would see it in our documentation. Now again, si tunasema kwa JD hakuna mahali. Why isn't there anywhere it's saying, as in let us that is encouraging that building of, you get? That's number one. Then number two, ukiangalia our interactions. Currently, most of us are in social media and all the other platforms that we are at. Would you say humility is being promoted uko anywhere?
No.
So
by the way, if you look at that,
so now unfortunately,
zero.
Unfortunately, that's why I am saying, or I am seeing that as a society, we do not. We are a dying breed. Let me just say that. If you look at the long run, currently, I have operated with very humble people, as in. Tukiangalia 100% is the number of people I've interacted with. 87% or even crossing to 90% of the people are people of humility, are people who are humble. But because of the things that we are of the structures that we're putting together as a culture or as a society, it will be a dying breed. If not now, very soon, right? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. I've actually loved the social media angle that you brought, because I was trying to understand your point, but then the social media one imeleta like that thing.
And it's a lot more. If you look at okay, I know that naweza ongea points kadhaa, then now it looks like our society is really terrible. I'm really appreciative of the society I am in.
Just summarize
in summary, I feel like we can do a lot better. I genuinely do not think that pride is a terrible thing. That said, I really think that we have a role to know when to operate with either, right?
Yeah.
That I'm not saying kill all, that at the pride to now this is my view. This is what I'm seeing. That even as a trait, it has some value, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that said, it's that awareness that, okay, in some scenarios I will need to operate this way, and in some I will need to adjust, right? So that, okay, now that's my summary. Yes, yes. I don't know what you.
Okay. The point, I understand the point that, like, both, okay, maybe in the society that we live in, you will need to have, both of them will need to be there. It's maybe now the level of, let's say, there are scenarios that will actually need you to have pride. Yeah?
Yes, that is partly what I'm saying. Yes, very true. There are
Yes.
scenarios that you will be required or you will be of more value if you have pride, right?
Yeah.
Because just in interactions today, I'm sure there are 1,000 decisions that you had to make, and out of the 1,000, you might find one or two. Or if not today, let us increase the scope, not just today's decisions. Let's look at this month's decision. 10 million, whatever number of decisions. There are some where for you to get the best value as an individual, if you had pulled out, now let me look at it as a card. If you had pulled out the pride card instead of the humility card,
Yeah.
I know, sorry for this.
Yeah, it's fine.
But if you had, probably you would have gotten better value or you would have gotten a better result. Probably, right?
Yeah, it makes sense, by the way.
Okay.
It makes sense. Yeah, it actually makes sense, by the way. Because I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense here. Do you think in a place like okay, let me just use the social media example. Do you think someone who is humble can actually never survive social media? Like we've said, it's more or less like social media, and let me just use that example. Rewards pride, yeah? in a sense, because
in a lot of sense, not just in a sense. So I think most of the sense. If you look at
for example, we take, my account, your account. I am humble. You're prideful. Let's say we've started those accounts at the same time. The chances are yours will actually grow, and you will be able to gain more influence as opposed to mine. Mine nitakuwa tu hapo chini na struggle nini na humility yangu
so humility ndio itakulisha huko chini na views zako kumi.
Because people don't want to see that. People want to see. People want to be fed, from this pride side. I don't know if.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, that's true. And if you look at what is, if I talk about feeding the beast, that is social media, that is exactly what is feeding the beast. That even hata mimi, even okay, no, let me not point fingers, but hata mimi, hata nikijiambia ati I'm humble, ati mimi niko na humility ya sijui nani and nani. Ukiangalia algorithm yangu ya TikTok, whatever is there,
kila mtu anatambua hiyo.
Nitashinda hapo na no, I can't.
And then a distant observer will be like, how comes this guy is humble? Yes. Why? Mbona, like, he doesn't have,
why isn't he feeding himself humility content?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, yes, that is where we are at. That I am okay, this is probably also a very dark view of the distant future, but I am seeing a society where you will have to explain to someone, hey, you don't know about humility. You know, humility is when nikikwambia, unakaa fiti. You don't say, yeah, manze, you should have noticed yesterday. Unafaa useme, we, manze, ni God ameniweka, or something of that sort, right? So that's a very good example of humility. But yes, now in my from my view, I have a bigger picture from what I'm seeing. Probably we will get to that point as a society.
Okay. I was also looking at it from, and I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong, because there's something you said, and then I registered when it comes to taking, I think, criticism. We just, for example, if someone you come and tell me, okay, actually, I think you see that that thing that you sent me.
I'm the one telling you.
Yeah, that thing that you posted.
The video you posted.
The video you posted. I feel as if you could have. There's some areas maybe ungeshughulikia kidogo. Haikuwa like venye unanijua like standards zilikuwa chini kidogo. Then I'll be like, we ni nini unaniambia we? By the way, you don't even know anything about videos, videography, editing. What are you telling me? As in, there's not as in. I'm just. In other words, I'm viewing myself niko hapa uko hapa in terms of whatever we are talking about. So I feel as if you have no right to offer me
so unakuja unaniambia kwanza vile unaongea hivyo uko na channel hata
uko na channel hata unaongea kama nani unaona.
Okay.
So that is one reaction. The other reaction would be okay, that is what you think. Okay, I hadn't thought of it that way, but let me just, I may not act on your suggestion or your feedback, but I will consider it. And I will not be angry. I will not, start throwing words all around. So I'm trying to think that reaction number one, that is someone that is regarding themselves, their self-importance quite highly, as opposed to yours.
They're thinking better than.
Yes. But scenario number two, I'm thinking that is someone who is humble. I don't know. I just want to pick your brain on this.
Based on the response, scenario one, the guy is not humble, right? Are they humble?
I would say they are not humble.
You would say they're not humble.
Yeah.
Scenario two, someone is very. I think in my opinion, it is more than just humility in play on that role. It is definitely part of now the entire response that the lesser humility you have as an individual, the higher chances it will be for you to respond in response one, right?
Yes.
But even with humility, it would still be very difficult for you to respond even with the second response, right?
I think with humility,
you have increased your chances of responding in the second way, which probably serves as the best response, because if you really think about it in the bigger picture, if you want your content to grow, if you want your channel to grow, this is part of the input that you really need to think about to help better your channel and all that. Now we're thinking logically and all that. That said, it's not just humility in play, because for that witty response, you have really thought about, okay, this is someone I do not need to even, I don't need to invalidate them. because first of all you've invalidated with the first response. Jumi hata nitasema niliambia Githinji last time we akafanya nikazima YouTube for a month. Sahi hata ndio nataka kuona kantaanza kuwatch YouTube, right? You have done a lot more than just but without humility, again, you cannot serve that response, right?
So you're saying in scenario 1, without humility,
I would say scenario 1.
The way I'm looking at it, I'm thinking the person in scenario 1, the one that refused to even consider the let me call it constructive criticism, is pride. Is prideful, has pride. But then scenario 2, that is a humble guy or
someone who is humble. Yes. By the way, for someone who has pride, very clear that leaning towards that response, they might just as well akwambia we achana hiyo mambo unaniambia nini? Kwani wewe ni Mr Beast? Hawezi niambia kitu, na hata Mr Beast hana 4K videos, so ni wewe nini unaniambia? Zake ziko sijui zimekamia 1080p. Right? That's now someone who has pride. If we are talking about now just building yourself, not even just yourself, adding more value to yourself, even as an individual, then probably even now the way I'm processing it is even as at that point, responding it from an aspect of pride might not really be of value to you, because now you've just lost a follower, or you've just lost watch hours zenye probably ujamata ungemchocha mwambie by the way una make sense hata sikuwa I should have told you that nimekuwa nikingangana kuchukua camera or whatever,
or maybe whatever it is that they were highlighting is a valid point.
Yes, also
you are blind to
and now that it's been open to, because now we've had even scenarios where someone has been like, you know what you're saying is a valid statement, and I actually hadn't even thought of exactly what you said earlier, right? That sikuwa nimefikiria hivyo. I have to think about it, let me see what I can do, I'll build up on whatever, but it's a very valid point that you're putting in.
Because I think someone, even just someone who is prideful, they would let me say ni kama like you see they are regarding themselves by definition, it's having a very you're regarding your self-importance like excessively like higher than normal. So if I'm regarding myself like that, then I feel as if there is no room for me to even learn anything, because I'm thinking, there's no value that you can add to me. Like we can't even have a conversation, because I feel like whatever you're saying, like as in what are you telling me? Like I need to look for people like Jay-Z, and those are people that we can just have a conversation with.
But
but Mumuli sasa umse ananiambia nini? But if I have humility, then I'd be like, okay, maybe Mumuli may not be as educated as I am. He may not be an expert in this field, because it's my field. I probably know more than him, but maybe there's something there's a perspective that he can share, and then I'll be like, okay, I haven't thought of that. Let me just consider it. So I think that is having a very modest view of my own self-importance. I'm like, maybe hata kwenda shule alimaliza form 4, but alimalizia tu form 4, but let me just hear maybe there's something that I can. I don't know if there's.
It's very true, and from what you're saying, it really works. if you look at now how we're operating, it really works if now you adopt at least some level of humility as you're operating. That of value, just I call it part of, okay, I've just called it now, I call it part of being humane, that the human interactions are very important. That again, even if you decide to look down upon me today, ni milima ndio hazikutani, na probably something might happen in future. And so even if you're being, hata kama uko na pride in this scenario, if you really want to achieve whatever you need to achieve, in this scenario, it doesn't serve you well to be of pride, right? But that said, I'm trying to also think about a scenario, think of a scenario where pride really adds more value to you as an individual at a specific decision point. Okay, let's look at the inverse of that example. That now you're in a setting, you are social. Are you okay with me calling you a social butterfly? You're a social butterfly. Umeingia event, then everyone is like, guy, nikigidhinji kimekuja, saa kimeka mkudu. Alafu, as in now people are, okay, probably it's a crude example, but
no, just give it.
As in the feeling in the room, you know how to read the room. The feeling in the room is like, umse nini anaweza do? Does humility help you in that scenario?
No. In that scenario, to be honest, I feel if you're being humble in that scenario, then it's like you're actually feeding
into
that beast of these guys who are actually looking down on you. So in that scenario, I would say I will take out my pride card.
Itabidi uinue ka pride kidogo. Ai, kwani nyinyi mnaniambia nini?
By the way, that is a perfect example of pride in a scenario where pride might actually serve you better.
Right.
Yes. But okay. You know, this whole time I was nilikuwa isaidia humility, but na hiyo example umefanya ni nikubali by the way.
There are some scenarios
where humility may not serve you as well
as
as pride. I'm trying to think. And this may be a very simplistic example, but let's say we are going home, you know, and home is like maybe a kilometer from here. It's late, it's, you know, and then nikwambie awe uniambie boss ni hapa tu tupande tu bike tuende tu mguu.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that example. It's going okay, but endelea. Let me not spoil. Where mahali huko
and then uniambie tuende tu mguu, as in haja gani kupanda nini, so relax. And then I'm like, hey Z, even if it's just here, I know this place, I think we should take an Uber for taking. So you might unaweza niangalia, and I know it's a very simplistic example, but you might think of me, sasa umse atika place tu kadogo hivi mse ashaanza kuitisha mauba, sijui tumelipa sijui dongapi, saa hizi ni nini
kwanza pole
basi wala. But me, yes, you might say that niko na kanini kidogo, but me I've looked at this logically. If we Kula Route 11 here.
Whatever calculations or whatever assessments you've made make you come out as prideful or someone with pride.
Yes. You might say that I'm being.
You have
hizo ni gani mauba tangu lini hizo ni hapa hivi na ni sijui saa ngapi.
Na wewe ushapiga hesabu labda kasi nimebeba mpaka umeichapia insurance.
Exactly. Maybe hata nimebeba lapi. Wewe hata hujabeba anything, hata una simu, maybe ni kabambe. So you're not even thinking about those things.
Na nimevaa disandals.
Okay. So maybe a distant observer may looking at it just from the surface might say I'm being proud, and then you're the humble guy in that scenario. But in that scenario, I'm telling you, Sawa, I'm okay being prideful, because pride will get me home safe and sound.
Yes.
Humility will just take the corner here, and then we'll and then
probably stories are what happens.
Yes. So I don't know if that example makes sense.
It does. It really does. And can I summarize it into? It's not as easy as saying that we should have humility or pride.
Yes.
But it's about being having that level of awareness to know when to use what.
Exactly.
Because I might be the most humble guy, my friend, but humble doesn't pay my bills.
It's true.
Ikifika kulala njaa nitalala njaa nako. Ati unajua ni God. Very sorry for that example,
no,
but
it's okay.
Unfortunately, if we are looking at the most humble guy, the dictionary definition of a humble person, that person isn't able to even survive in this society. Unfortunately, the truth is you have to assess your scenario and know when to use what for you now to become the best, or for you to have the best outcome you're looking for, because you're aware of your own objectives.
Yeah.
If you're always humble, kitakuramba mahali.
Yeah, true.
There are times you will have to kadi. It's either the kadi or the heart, whether humble heart or whether, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So very interesting conversation
and
there.
The final one, by the way, let me just give you another one. If, for example, Suna John to rap, guys, mnapitanga ma places and then you kulam to rap.
I know a base.
And then, so, tunaweza kuwa tumeenda mimi wewe na, akina Linus. Then when we get there, you guys are like, I'm Tura, it's been a while. Just kata ya mia hapa. And then me, I'm like, hey, by the way, you guys, me, I don't do Tura.
I was that guy for some time. for some time. But story for another day. It was based on my experiences. Yeah, but
people in that group might say, this guy, he only eats in whatever restaurants, he can't eat Yeah. But me, like I've had that before. It has messed me up. I've had
same experience.
I've been on medication for almost a month because of that. Just getting, eating. So I'm not being proud.
But me, I always go back. Where so ulikata mutura kabisa?
Okay, it's an example. It's an example. But I eat mutura, by the way, I love it. But when we are with someone and then they say no, I can't. I won't start thinking at it.
Probably
I'll be like, there's some whatever.
Okay. Yeah, very true. And that's also another example. Yeah. Now, okay, hapo pia inahitaji some level of, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. Anything else?
I think the what I've gotten from this discussion, because even coming in, I came in thinking, it's more desirable to be humble, to have humility, but my
to be modest.
Yes, to be modest. But mindset yangu may change now after we've given those examples. I'm like, by the way, there are some scenarios where pride will actually serve you better than humility.
Yes.
So I'm actually glad we've had this discussion, because coming in, I had this let me just say fixed mindset, but now like I have been able to look at it from a broader perspective.
Yeah, actually, as you sorry.
And now I think it's not such a bad thing to be proud in some instances.
Yes. There's actually that conversation. It was Socrates who was put to court for corrupting the minds of the youth, right?
Yeah.
Actually, okay. Now in that example, he was I would say he had a lot of pride, even in his expression. Okay, in the readings that I've done, that he did not want to relate that he was my thought process is I have done the assessment and no one matches me.
Yes.
In summary, if I can try to represent him.
Yeah. That is a good example.
Do you think that even as an individual, it would have served him better to just
yes,
kung'oa
it
kadi?
would have served him better because probably he wouldn't even have been executed at the end of the day.
But then the question becomes, would he have been true to his cause?
Yes.
Because again,
yes. So I think had he done that,
uh-huh.
he would have lived, but he would have lived feeling as if he betrayed
himself. Because he, as an individual, his objective was to become the truest person he can become.
Exactly.
So he was actually in character and
yeah.
Okay. So. Okay, so very interesting conversation. I think, do you have anything else to add? Because hapa naona tunaweza endelea siku nzima. Okay. So I think, guys, that has been it from us. Very interesting conversation. I like how this rolled today. How, as in the flow. I really like how it flowed. Yeah. So just hang out with us next time as we are building up to the other episodes. Remember, we are still trying to build that perfect individual, someone who will be able to survive in our society. So that's been it from us. Of course, until next time, please remember to subscribe, like, share the videos, building the community. That's the word. Tumeambia watu wa subscribe na
subscribe bana. Kuna hii button iko hapa.
Kuna ka button. Sijui kwa hapa kakapale.
If you watched up until now, now just subscribe bana.
Do the thing.
Do the thing.
So that's been it from us. Until next time.
Yes.
Deuces. We.